Good morning, I'm Sinead Maguire. I'm part of the biodiversity group here in Strandhill, and this morning we are starting our tree planting initiative, which is part of the biodiversity plan which we have devised for Strandhill, which we hope will be adopted into the Sligo development plan. It's part of several initiatives that we have to encourage greater diversity, encourage our natural habitats and increase the sustainability of the village generally. Is that enough?
Yeah, so I'm Matt. I brought up the trees this morning from Home Tree in County Clare. It's going to give you a little tutorial. So once you collect the trees this morning, you can take them home and give them the right care that they need. They're going to come in a small kind of plastic bag. If you don't plant the trees in the next few hours, you need to make sure that those roots are kept really moist. And when you're ready to plant them out, ideally within the next few days, maybe 4 days maximum, you're gonna take the tree that you're given. You're going to be given one of 5 of the native trees here, and they're probably all going to look really similar to you if you're not familiar with them. This one is the one that's really easily distinguishable. It's a Scots pine. It's one of the native evergreens that we have here. And native is defined as that it's been here since the last ice age, so 8,000 years ago. Here we have a birch, and so you're going to have either a birch, an alder or an oak, and they all look quite similar, and also a thorn tree. The thorn is the one that will have the thorn in it. That's pretty easily distinguishable. The next is the oak, and you'll probably see that they've got a few brown leaves on. The oak will probably be quite thicker with a bigger tap root than the other two, and quite round in the middle, and it'll be a lot more knobbly. You can also just go online and it'll tell you everything. Now the last two is the birch and the alder. I like to think, well, alder is my favourite tree, so I'm very fond of that. But the easiest way to tell the difference is you can either see on the bark, but if you're really confused, the alder, they have these little nodules right on the roots, and they're nodules of nitrogen. And the beautiful thing about the alder tree is that they're nitrogen fixing, so they don't actually take nitrogen from the soil, and that's why they'd be considered one of the better pioneer species, because they actually bring in energy for the other trees. Now all of these trees will grow very well here. The more shelter they have, the better they'll grow. The healthier soil, the better they'll grow. So ideally you'd have a kind of sheltered spot with a nice bit of soil, but when you plant them, if you also, over the next weeks and years, if you covered a little bit around the root, just a few feet around each root, and you'll stop the grass growing, which is ideal because then the tree doesn't have competition for the nutrients in the soil. I think that's about all of these trees, you know, could be found in a hedgerow, save really the Scots pine. So they're all coppiceable, so once they get to a certain height, you can take their kind of the leading tip off, and they'll just spurt out from the sides. Even an oak, you know, many people would grow oak hedges, so you don't really have to worry so much about the size. But if you have a very small garden, you might put it at the north side, so it's not taking the sun. And a quick demonstration when you get the tree. Any old spade will do. You could even use your hands if it was absolutely necessary. And the best way that I find to do is kick the spade in once, and then kick the spade in twice, and then if you come a bit closer here, you'll see that the soil kind of comes up in a little T, and then you can grab one of the trees, you take out the spade, and under that T you just want to plant the tree. If the roots can be separated as much as possible, not too hard, and then you just hold it by the tip and you can stand it in like that. Now, because you're only going to go home with 2 trees, what you could do is dig a hole. You don't want to be putting any fertilizer or anything like that, and you could just dig a hole, break up the soil, and give the roots a little bit an easier journey into their new home. What else would be important to add? Aftercare. If there is a really dry spell over the next few weeks, you could give them a small drop of water, but it's very rare that I'd water in any trees. And I suppose the reason that we're planting these guys, the native species, is as evolution's happened, all of the bugs and birds and mammals, they've all co-evolved with these trees to kind of sustain each other. So for instance, the oak tree here, this one, that can support up to 450 insects, as opposed to like a Sika spruce, like the plantations we see, could support 23, more or less. And that has a huge knock-on effect, you know, up and down the food chain, outside and before the insects. I like spruce trees, but I also prefer lots of biodiversity, and that's the purpose of us doing this today. If you have any questions, you could send Home Tree on Instagram a question, Home Tree Charity, or ask the Biodiversity Group. I'm sure they'll be super willing to get back to you. Good luck.